Up on another softball season. You're coming off of your 19th trip to the NCAAs, your 3rd trip to the World Series. Pretty good year last year. Kind of a hectic year with the weather, though, wasn't it?
Well, yes, when you move the season to the first week in March to play basically up here, it's almost impossible. We got a late start up here, but that worked out, and the kids played well, and fortunately we were able to get to the World Series.
How challenging was it last year, though? That weather was unique. You had snowouts throughout April. Everybody had them. Games were canceled. You had to make them up when you could. But did you have to jam games together? Did it change your practice schedule and the study schedule even for the kids?
Well, I think it does. You plan it out pretty well, and kids, we ended up having the highest grade point of all the teams last year, and we just had the highest grade point this semester, so credit to the kids. Not so much to the coaches, but to the kids. And anytime you move dates, it creates problems, obviously, school-wise and playing-wise, because you start pushing all those games back together. The one advantage you have in softball that baseball doesn't have is your pitchers can throw all the time.
Talking about grades, 3.5 grade point average for the team, and not a player under 3. How do you have that kind of consistency in the classroom on a team? You'd think you're going to have one that struggles. You don't.
Well, occasionally we do. Maybe it's our assistants threaten them with their lives or something like that. And don't take that literal, but no, when you have good kids and you recruit good academic kids, they excel in the classroom. And fortunately, they're good softball players, so they've excelled on the field. We've
talked about this off air, but there's not a professional softball league to go to, really. There are, but that's not what you're going to make your living at. So you've got to get them thinking about more than just softball, but making the most of their athletic career while they're here. How do you approach that? How do you try to get kids to balance that?
Well, I think anytime I recruit, I always say education is the most important thing, because you're not going to make a living in softball, and degree is important. We want our kids to graduate, but softball is just slightly below it. And you can only go 20 hours a week, and that's good because it allows kids to be a college student. I think that's important, and we don't practice all the time, so they can enjoy what they're having. I think when you organize your time, you have a chance to be successful.
Let's talk about the schedule. You don't play a home game till you're near the end of your schedule because of being in Michigan, and like you say, you just got to get things going. So you go to, I think, Alabama, to Georgia, to Florida. You do all these things before you ever play a game here. You go to Chicago where they have an indoor facility. You play in all these places before you ever step out on your home field.
Well, it's good sometimes to get away, but I think also for us, we want to play teams that we think are nationally bound, because it gives us a good measuring point for our team. And if you can't beat some of those teams, then you don't belong in the Final 8. And so, we've been fortunate a few years here and there to do well, and that's helped us out, I think.
Let's talk about this team this year. You lost a few seniors, not many, and you've got some players back who had been hurt. And you might actually have more depth, and especially in pitching. Your pitching is going to be a strong suit, and that's what you need in this sport.
Well, we have our 2 top throwers back, Lindsey Butler and Brianna Lee. Lindsey Butler was Player of the Year, and Brianna Lee is an All-American. And we have Mackenzie Bulliard back, who won 17 as a freshman, and she had some arm problems last year, but she's back at full tilt. And we have a kid out of Ohio named Haley Hurd, who throws probably harder than all of them, and we can bring her along, and hopefully we can give her some pitching time. And we have most of our position people back, so that gives us a great advantage. And we should be pretty good, but as you know, you can make those statements now, but you got to go on the field and prove it. So we probably have a target on our back. Last year, nobody knew what Lindsey was, and Bree had only won 12 games prior to that in a year, and so we kind of snuck up on people, but we're not going to sneak up on anybody this year.
Yeah, you're definitely not going to sneak up on them this year, but do you really ever sneak up on somebody? They know who Wayne State is, and they know in 19 trips to the NCAAs, they know who you are, even in a quote-unquote down year.
That's probably true. I always think that sometimes teams measure how well they play against us and how well their season's going to go, especially early in the year. Because we do go out, just like, we go out and play in Augustana, who is generally a perennial power in South Dakota. And, that's a measuring point for them. It's a measuring point for us, and I think that's true.
What does this team need this year to get back to the World Series, and then maybe take a further step in there, get in a little deep into the World Series? What needs to happen?
Maturity. I think we've been young. We're deceptively young because we've had a lot of injuries. So we have a lot of medical redshirt kids that are back, And so if you look on our roster, they might say eligibility-wise a sophomore, but they might truly be a junior. So we have a lot of kids that are juniors that show up young, and that maturity factor has a lot to do with it. You win with seniors, and generally you win with a good core of seniors. So
let's talk about the program overall. When you're out recruiting kids, you want to get them to come here. You can tell them, hey, look at our success rate, look at our school. Do you also tell them, look at women's athletics at this school, that they take it seriously, that, hey, tennis is Sweet 16, basketball Sweet 16, women's swimming is great. Women's sports don't take any kind of backseat to the guys at Wayne State. Is that a good recruiting tool for you?
It is a good recruiting tool. This facility is a great recruiting tool because not too many Division II programs have this facility. And a lot of D1s do not have this facility. I was out in Stanford last summer, and their facility doesn't even come close to ours. And I mean, here's a major university that's very well endowed, and you know, we have a better facility than they do. So,
how has this facility made a difference for you? I think it's been around for about 3 years, 4 years.
This part, the first section has been 3 years with the indoor batting and pitching. It's been 2. Kids come in. We have a great locker room. We have walk right out onto the field. You can come in and hit anytime. You can come in and pitch. I mean, it's just a great Division II facility, and thanks to Rob, you know, Fournier, the AD, to put this up, and that's given us a big leg up, I believe.
Last question I want to ask you, and it's just about your tenure here. You've won over 1,000 games. You're one of the top 20 winningest coaches in the history of college softball. What keeps you at Wayne State?
Well, people say, if you retire, what are you going to do? When I was age 7, I started playing organized ball, and I'll be 74 in March. And that's all I've done is been a coach. I've been a football coach, a wrestling coach, college basketball coach, you know, jack of all trades, master of none. So I would probably retire and still coach somewhere. So,
Coach, hey, thank you very much. Good luck this season.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.